Hey, how you doing, friend? I'm glad that you're here. And today, I just wanted to pause for a minute in my schedule and download to you what I believe to be some of the best productivity tools for living life strategically. So, if I can help you live life more on purpose and more strategic, then we've done something well. So, I'm glad that you're here today. Today, I want to talk about the power of focused work. I got spurred onto this as a referral from a friend for a book called Deep Work, which I thought was fantastic. Got some massive nuggets from that book. Cal Newport did a great job of conveying some great strategies and tools. I have had some of these in mind for years. This helped confirm and refine some of the ones that I had. But it really boils down to the essence of self-discipline, which I know that we all struggle with. And that can take forms into habits, in terms of our food, in terms of our exercise, in terms of our work disciplines, our parenting, our marriage. It can fill into every single area of our life. And if you're like me, you constantly want to get these areas more refined and better dialed in to where it's a control issue and things have a great rhythm to them. But if you're like me, you get really cranky when there's chaos and when things are out of sorts and things are out of order. That's a great indicator that something needs to be adjusted or changed. So today I want to I wanted to provide some resources and some tips of what I've used to increase my productivity by 300 to 400%. And by doing so, this gave me phenomenal creativity and the work that I did create. 2, it helped with incredible time in my marriage. 3, incredible enriched time with my kids. There's that saying of being off and being off and being on and being on. Like when you're on, you're on. That is a huge passion of mine because I don't want to just create a little bit of good work. I want to create a lot of great work in a very short amount of time. So let me share a couple of tips with you that are the topics that I go into when it comes to creating better work, increasing your productivity, but the power of focused work. Let's take a look at that. Number 1 is your willpower. Imagine a filled tank, like a gas tank or a reservoir, or maybe even a thermometer. But take that idea in your head and think that you start the day at a full tank, and that's your willpower. And what that willpower looks like is your self-discipline control, the control that you have over your devices, over any distraction, over a phone call, over taking meetings, over saying yes to things. For me, I had to look at what is going to keep my willpower at the highest point so I'm the strongest and can go through the day with willpower reserves in the tank. Meaning, I don't have a problem saying no to things or guarding things or putting up a boundary for things. So that then goes into what one of my main strategies are. And this is point number 2. Email and technology, email and social media, being online, let's call it, just being online in general. One of the things that I do is a great tip that I learned back in the 4-Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss, which is a fantastic read, definitely on hacking life and time and things like that. But one of the biggest nuggets for me that I could personally relate to was my passion for being in the driver's seat of my time and what happens on a regular basis. And I love being in the driver's seat of dictating what happens with my calendar, how much I work, how much I play, how much I spend time with those that matter to me most. So I had to put serious parameters and boundaries on this. So I started with a 12 o'clock in the afternoon check-in with my email and a 4 o'clock check-in with my email. And I'm getting it down to once a day. But as it stands right now, my first check-in from the moment I wake up could be anywhere between 5 to 7 a.m. And in those times, depending on my schedule, I'm not even going online checking anything, any email, any social media until 12 o'clock in the afternoon around lunch. The reason for doing this is because the entire reason why we're doing all of this and setting these disciplines and reserving our willpower is because the work that we do want to do, the heightened work, what I call flow of being in that work where I'm creating my best stuff with my best genius, meaning why I was created, why I'm wired the way I'm wired, to do a video like this, to paint a painting, to mentor somebody on a private coaching call, to journaling my ideas, to sketching new ideas or strategizing the next thing I'm going to do. Heck, that's how I was able to actually function and create and be present to write my book for 18 months. Email and technology are time bandits. They will rob you of your precious time that can be allocated for deep, meaningful, focused work. By setting up these boundaries and what I put into place, my productivity soared. And a couple of ways that this will take root in your life, let's say you work at a job, and if you were to cut off email and if you were to cut off social media during the workday and you were to actually focus on how much time you produce the best part of what you produce, that's going to happen in primarily about an hour to 3 hours of your day, not 8 hours a day. Now, I find my value based on what it is I produce, not on what it is, how much time that it takes. I do not base the value of my worth, what I am worth, and what I create based on how long it's going to take. I base it off of the value it's going to create. This leads us to our next point. The first point was your willpower and keeping that willpower reserve as high as you can throughout the day to where you're not depleting it, giving into temptation of having to get distracted on things that don't produce value, and that being taken away and off task becomes a roller coaster and you're constantly fighting it, and that's just a preoccupation it's like a fly that you're constantly swatting all day and trying to get it off of you because you're constantly having the allure and the pull, and it's dragging you off topic. So to stay on topic takes a lot of willpower. How do we keep that willpower? By setting up boundaries and parameters. So we talked about the willpower, we talked about the email parameters, and the social media. Let me just, before I go on to the next point of the third, let me just touch on this. By checking email at 12 and at 4, I noticed two things that occurred. One, I was able to check email in 15 seconds. Two, about one or two actually required a response. So out of my entire week, there's maybe about a 20 to 30 minute total for the week. 20 to 30 minutes required of a response. And by that, it creates so much more margin for other things, good quality work, and then it doesn't deplete your tank while you're working on your solid stuff, the stuff that has meaning and has value. So the third point is this. Only use technology as a means to an end. And so you have to ask yourself these questions. Does the tool match the purpose? Okay, so let me point a picture of what this looks like for me. My purpose is to do two things. To provide hope to the world using story and creativity. How do I take that purpose and use technology for that? One way is through selling art and having events and providing experiences with my collectors and guests. That's one avenue. Number two is mentoring, writing, and reaching folks through my writing and through the sharing of my life as it pertains to helping transform others and provide them hope. So if your social media does not match your purpose, you really have to analyze if it's worth doing at all. And this is a very, very great challenge for you to consider and to really think about. Is what you are doing on social media and what you're doing with email matching the entire purpose of what you're trying to achieve in the very end? If my goal is to sell art, does the social media and the avenues of email and what I'm doing, is it matching? Are those tools matching the purpose? Social media and these platforms are just tools. If your goal is to do dog grooming, but you're spending all of your social media time on just sharing your life and doing your life, you're a human existing, not a human doing, meaning a human being. You're existing, but it's without the purpose of the end of what you're doing. And most people think that they're just doing life, just hey, I'm just sharing my life. I kind of get that, but also at the same time, if it doesn't match the means to the end, we really got to understand, are we spending our time or are we investing our time? It's really amazing, because if you start to go on a fast, and the fast for me is becoming a lifestyle, which is becoming a discipline. I've got my life back. I'm spending time with those that are most enriching to me and match my purpose. And I'm not spending time, wasting time on areas that don't produce any fruit. And this is a personal preference with everybody. But I got to tell you, if you're looking to be productive and to create really amazing, meaningful work, the question would be, how much time are we spending it on purposeless platforms that don't have anything to do with our main purpose and main objective? So back to that third point, only use as a means to an end. 2, does the tool match the purpose? And 3, here's a very subtle blind spot. Be careful of apps acting as being productive. We can have, I remember walking to one guy's art studio, and he had every tool under the sun, every supply. It looked like an art store, but he wasn't producing anything. And I didn't see any finished pieces around. All I saw was the acquisition of tools. It's like becoming a snowboarder, buying all the gear, getting the right place, buying the car, buying the clothes, buying the lifestyle without actually doing it. So don't mistake dreaming for doing. Don't mistake having a lot of apps and productivity tools for actually being productive. Productivity tools don't make you productive. Results make you productive. My life, your life, is going to be based on results. In order for us to produce results, we have to be focused. In order for us to get focused, we have to be guarded. We have to be able to have parameters and strict boundaries on our time. The goal here is also, as I talked to you about, with making sure that your value is being created by what you produce, not how long it takes. If you're spending time at work and you're actually realizing that you're burning and killing time just to fill 8 hours, your goal is to see how you can produce the most results in the least amount of time, making the most money possible. So as an entrepreneur, my goal is to do what I need to do, creating the impact that I need to create in the least amount possible, making the most revenue I've ever made before. And the less time that it actually takes you, the more per hour you've actually given yourself a raise. So very, 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 very cool once this starts to take place in your life, because you start to realize I've wasted a ton of my time where I could have been building my dream, creating a new asset, launching a new initiative, connecting with a loved one that I want to just go have coffee or lunch with. But you're burning that time and you're spending that time by not being able to focus on what it is you really, really want to do. So if you were to focus and make sure that you're continually trimming the fat and putting parameters around your life, you're going to find that you're a lot more effective and you're in a safe zone. And as an artist, I've heard these sayings as writers and authors. They need a nest. They need that quiet time. They need that time to be able to think. Well, let me just tell you this. The average thought leader, the average artist, creative that can do the best work, here's a statistic, is 1 to 3 hours, 4 hours tops. So if I sit down to paint and I just say I'm going to paint for 12 hours, I will literally burn out. My greatest amount of time and a heightened sense of creativity and flow comes into play at a 1 to 4 hour range. I'm alert, the air feels sizzly, I'm super, super electrified, and I feel heightened in terms of my thinking, my focus, and being able to go to a deep dive. But if I'm going for that deep dive and I'm seeing an alert going off on my phone, a sound going off on my phone, going to the easel and then hearing a bing or a text message come through, I'm telling you right now, set boundaries and parameters around your lifestyle and you are going to see your productivity soar. You will literally, and here's the best part, you will literally be going, I can't check email or social media right now. What am I supposed to be doing? You'll find yourself asking yourself that question 8 times in the day, especially when you first start out. But by doing that, you're going to be shocked at the results that you get because you're going, wow, I just realized I would have grabbed it again. I just realized at that stoplight I would check my phone again. I just realized, and here's a tell, if any quiet moment that you're standing in a coffee shop, that you're sitting in an airport, that you're doing anything off your main task, are you running to grab your phone to do something? That's a way to numb. That's a way to use as medication and to medicate ourselves from something rather than what we should be truly working on and facing. So what I would do is I would grab a journal, and even if you want to write this, just write down what are the feelings that you're having when you're doing that exercise, when you're refraining from doing it. Because every single time you're like, you know what, I'm stopping. Boom, your little thermometer in your tank went down just a little bit. You spent a little bit of that willpower. So the goal is this: if you know that you're going to wake up and you can't even go to your phone, you look, there's no text messages. You definitely can't check email, and you can't check social media because all of your alerts are off. I've turned off all the alerts off of my phone. No notifications, none whatsoever. Because I found out that notifications, my phone, technology, people being accessible all the time will take you as much as you're willing to give. But the moment you know you can't do anything until midday, you get your life back. I'm promising you, you're going to see results. And I'm encouraging you to make this step. You will get your life back. You will have more time than you can possibly imagine. And it's going to feel like you're a kid again, where you remember those days where you just felt bored? When was the last time you felt bored? And that can even be on a work day. But it's really amazing how that's our little, our go-to, the blanket and the suck our thumb. We find our identity in it. Did we get comments? Did we get likes? How many did people like this? Did they share it? Listen, social media is appropriate, and so is email for communication. Social media primarily for marketing, especially if you're in the business of having a product and launching a business. However, it's not going to run you. You run your life. You dictate how it's to be used because it's nothing but a tool. The cool thing, one of the tools I use is Meet Edgar. Meet Edgar is a great online app that allows me to operate and be able to do automated posts where I can have that going in the background and everybody thinks that I'm on social media. Plus, since people check social media at different parts during the day, this allows that content to recycle and to go out and hit on new eyes and hit internationally. Even while I'm sleeping, it's being posted. So let's just do a quick recap because I want to respect your time and I know you've got a lot going on. The power of focused work and this idea of self-discipline, this new habit of getting your life back, requires understanding that you have to exercise willpower. How do we retain that willpower to where we don't fry ourselves and deplete ourselves of that? We make sure that we set parameters, one of them being email, technology, social media, and only use as a means to an end, as a tool. Does the tool match the purpose? Is what you're doing out there on social media matching your purpose? And lastly, be careful of apps being misplaced as being productive. Just because you have tools doesn't mean you're a productive person. What we do with those tools shows the results, and that shows our fruit. Our goal is to be able to work the least amount possible, making the most revenue we possibly can while doing what it is we love. That's not going to happen if our deep work and our concentration is robbed all the time and interrupted. If you want to create really amazing writing, really great music, really great time with your family, great date nights with your spouse, enriched time sitting around with friends, it's not going to happen if we're trying to be online as well as offline at the same time. It's either got to be on or it's got to be off. But I encourage you to really put this into practice. You will get your life back, all right? I appreciate you doing life with me. Thanks for watching. Do me a favor and share this with somebody that means a lot to you that you think it would be a huge advantage to. Also, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you with a comment and how this has helped you. But again, the best thing you can do to help me out is share it. And my goal is to help people live on purpose and live a more strategic life. I'm glad you're here and thanks for stopping by.